Thank you, Mr. President. I will begin by saying that if Hamas does not represent the Palestinian people, as President Abbas stated just yesterday, it is puzzling that his representative is present in this meeting, let alone voicing an opinion on behalf of the people in Gaza that elected the ISIS-like Hamas murderers in Gaza 17 years ago. I hope we all here understand that should any representative of the Palestinian Authority choose to enter Gaza today or in any other day, they would probably meet the same fate that many of their colleagues met in 2007, being thrown off 15-story buildings by Hamas. Distinguished Council members, the Security Council is facing one of the most pivotal moments in its history. This is a turning point for the Council, a moment of truth which will tell humanity whether this Council's very existence holds legitimacy, whether the UN retains a semblance of a moral compass. This institution was founded upon the ashes of the Holocaust, the genocide of the Jewish people. And just over a week ago, we witnessed yet another attempt at Jewish genocide, the Nazi Hamas massacre of babies, mothers, fathers, and the elderly. Every council member should understand that Hamas is driven by an ideology no different than the Nazis. In their original charter, they make this message very clear, and I quote, "Israel will exist and will continue to exist until Islam will obliterate it, just as it obliterated others before it." Article 7 says, "The day of judgment will not come about until Muslims fight Jews and kill them." Read it for yourself. It is Hitler's Mein Kampf on steroids. Hamas's very name, which stands for Harakat el-Mukawama el-Islamiyya, means the Islamic resistance movement. This is not a political organization. This is a terror organization no different than ISIS or Al-Qaeda. Hamas doesn't seek to liberate. We withdrew from Gaza 18 years ago. Hamas seeks to exterminate. This is their purpose and stated goal. And after the horrors that we suffered over a week ago, we must all understand that these are not empty threats. This is an action plan. And if Hamas has the opportunity to commit these atrocities again, they will. Hamas will not stop until Israel is obliterated. This is why, dear colleagues, for the safety of our people and the security of our future, Israel must obliterate Hamas first. We must do so, not for revenge, not for retaliation. We must do so for self-preservation. Such atrocities can never be committed again. And the only way to ensure this is by eliminating this barbaric terror group's capabilities. Over 1,400 Israelis were butchered. Thousands were injured. Nearly 200 hostages were taken to Gaza to be tortured, raped, and defiled, among them dozens of different nationalities. Proportionally, this atrocity is 15 times bigger than 9/11. But America's enemies were 7,000 miles away, while Israel's are 7,000 feet away. Mr. President, for the past 16 years, the international community and the UN have been complacent to Hamas's terrorist buildup. The world has kept its head in the sand as Hamas embedded its missiles and rockets and war machine within and under the civilian population of Gaza. It accepted an absurd reality that a law-abiding democracy could live side by side with cancerous genocidal terrorists thirsty for Israeli blood, that fires tens of thousands of missiles and rockets indiscriminately at our civilians. Future generations will look back in disbelief that the world could be so naive only 80 years after Hitler. But this is no longer the case. We have seen with our own eyes that nothing will change Hamas's ideology. Nothing. Not the rehabilitation of Gaza, not economic incentives, not any promise of a brighter future. The UN tried. The US tried. Many of you tried. But everyone failed. Nothing can change a genocidal ideology. Nothing. There is only one solution to curing a cancer, and it is the evisceration of every cancerous cell. The international community has poured billions of dollars into Gaza, and it all went to Hamas's war machine and its subterranean city of terror. Abundant resources and aid destined for the people of Gaza were squandered by these barbaric terror monsters. Every inch of the Gaza Strip has been exploited for Hamas's violent goals. To Hamas, Gazan civilians are nothing more than cannon fodder, human shields who in death become pawns for Hamas's libelous propaganda campaign. They are threatening, right now, as we speak here, they are threatening Gazans not to evacuate south, by the way, as we evacuated our civilians near our southern border, and then use their bodies to recruit countries to pressure Israel. So let me be clear. Israel is on a rescue mission to save our hostages, a rescue mission to save our future and to save the people of Gaza from their savage tyrants, a rescue mission. This rescue mission can end quickly. Should Hamas put down their arms tomorrow, return our hostages, and turn themselves in, this war can end without one more shot being fired. Why are you not calling on Hamas to do this? Why isn't this part of the resolutions? Distinguished Council members, I will reiterate. The Security Council now stands at one of its most pivotal crossroads. Will the Council support the fight for civilization, or will it incentivize the genocidal jihadists who aim to murder all the infidels? For a body dedicated to security, this shouldn't even be a question. The first step this Council must take before any calls for aid, calm or restraint, is to designate Hamas as the murderous terror organization that it is, just as the Council did with ISIS and Al-Qaeda. Secondly, and no less important, this Council must support Israel's right to defend itself. But supporting this right doesn't mean echoing empty words. It means standing in solidarity with Israel in our rescue mission to obliterate Hamas's terror capabilities. If Hamas is not obliterated, such atrocities will be repeated, and not only in Israel. Supporting Israel's right to defend itself means supporting Israel's goal of eradicating these cancerous jihadists. Israel, dear colleagues, is a law-abiding country that upholds international law. We are facing, as you all know, a genocidal terror group that doesn't even recognize the existence of international law. It must be remembered by the Council. So how can it be that the focus of the Security Council is not, and I elaborate, number one, to designate Hamas as a terror organization, number two, to hold Hamas fully and solely accountable for the situation in Gaza, number three, to fully support Israel's right to defend itself, and number four, to immediately and unconditionally demand from Hamas to release all the abducted hostages. I urge you all to think about these objectives and that they all be addressed in any future discussions. Israel will not accept having her hands tied while we are fighting for our security and for our children's future. Thank you, Mr. President.